Alright, so this video is on comparing and ordering decimals. One of the important parts of comparing and ordering decimals is the symbol you will use. The room I have is way over here on the right hand side, so I'll just show you that we have this little guy. You can think of him as a Pac-Man, or you can think of him as an alligator or anything like that. Well, he always likes to eat the bigger number. So the bigger number would be here. Whereas if we pointed it this way, we would have the small number here. If that makes sense. This first one I drew, I'll go over it in red, is called greater than. If you were to read it, you would say one number is greater than the next number. If we look at the second one, I've highlighted in blue, we would say this number is less than this other number. So we have the greater than in red, the less than in blue. So we're trying to figure out, looking at these two decimals, 2.2 and 3.1, which one is bigger. And so if we line them up vertically, like they have suggested, we have 2 and 3 is the first number we're going to compare. And since we know that 3 is bigger than 2, we know that we would write that as 3.1 is greater than 2.2. Looking at this next set of numbers over here, we have 45 hundredths and 6 tenths. If we line them up vertically, we compare the zeros. They are in common. And then we go to the next digit, which is the tenths place. And we notice that 6 is greater than 4. Therefore, we know that 6 tenths is greater than 45 hundredths. So all we have to do here is use the greater than or less than sign in place of the and. So 7 and 9 tenths, is that bigger or smaller than 8 and 1 tenth? Well, if we're comparing the 7 and the 8, we know that 8 is greater. So like I said before, the Pac-Man wants to eat the bigger number, so it would point that way. This is the less than sign. Moving on to the next one, we have 5 and 6. We know 6 is greater, so we would say 5 tenths is less than 62 hundredths. Moving on to the next one, we have a 3 in the ones place and a 0. Well, we know 3 is greater, so we would say 3 and 6 tenths is greater than 94 hundredths. Moving on to the next one, we have a 4 and a 6. We know that 6 is greater, so we know that we would use the less than sign. Moving on to the next problem, we have a 1 and a 1. Well, they have that in common. Then we have a 6 and a 9. We know that 6 is less than, so we are going to use the less than sign. Another way to look at this too, this symbol here, is that this point here is smaller than this area here. And so that's sometimes I notice that, or I can say that the sign will point to the smaller number. So it's just another way of looking at it. We have, in the next number, we have a 0 and a 3. Well, that's easy. We know that 3 is greater than. So we would have the Pac-Man or whatever point to the smaller number. Moving on to the next number, we have an 8 and a 6. So we know that 6.9 is less than, so we would use the symbol. And the next problem is 6 in common, and then we move to the 7, it's also in common, and then the 5, and the 5 is bigger than the 1, so we would use the greater than symbol. I hope this helps when you are comparing and ordering decimals.